At Forum Civ, we work with a rights-based approach to strengthen democratic processes and end discrimination by addressing barriers to the free exercise of rights, as well as the root causes of such impediments. In collaboration with our members and partner organizations, we promote active participation, non-discrimination, accountability, and transparency to create a just and sustainable world where all people have the power to affect change. A rights-based approach coupled with the 2030 Agenda and our development perspectives guides the planning and implementation of our programs. What do we mean by development perspectives? Much like the tip of an iceberg, discrimination, conflict situations, and human rights violations are the superficial manifestations of deeper issues hidden beneath the surface. There, the interaction between different social structures generates, justifies, and perpetuates different forms of violence and inequalities. If we attempt to tackle an iceberg before we understand what lies beneath it, it will be more difficult to propose real solutions, and we may run the risk of causing harm. Development perspectives are tools which allow us to see beneath the water's surface, much like an aquascope. But our aquascope is special, with three very important parts: conflict sensitivity and transformation, gender equality and equity, environmental and climate justice. Let's look more closely at the iceberg and learn the different functions of our tool while we explore what lies underwater. The first part extends, bends, and can reach as deep as we need it to. This helps us to understand the iceberg's size and form. As we dive, it allows us to see how conflict manifests not only through direct violence, but also through cultural violence, which, in turn, justifies structural violence and exclusions. This is our conflict sensitivity and transformation perspective. Observing the context, connections, and relations among different factors and actors allow us to identify the root causes of conflict. Once identified, we can help support rights holders in their work and avoid inflicting negative impacts. When conflict is transformed, it becomes an opportunity for development, cooperation, and partnerships. When light enters water, certain frequencies are diffused, creating the impression that everything is blue and green. In reality, however, there are as many colors underwater as above it. We just need something to help us perceive them. For this, we have the second part of our tool, a lens which allows us to see all colors, our gender equality and equity perspective. With this lens, we can see beyond a binary notion of gender to challenge and transform patriarchal structures of unjust power relations. Given that gender is cross-cut with other social categories such as class, race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation, among others, we use an intersectional perspective in our gender equality and equity approach. This allows us to identify the multiple identities, inequities, privileges, and oppressions that individuals face. With a better understanding of power relations, we can strengthen communities' ability to organize and make decisions freely about their bodies, identities, and sexual orientations. Inside the iceberg, there are caves where no light reaches. There, in the shadows, lurk unjust economic and political structures which, for decades, have stripped communities of their autonomy and control over their land and resources, threatening their right to a healthy and safe environment. This is where the third part of our tool comes in handy: a flashlight. This is our environmental and climate justice perspective. It seeks to uncover these hiding places and empower communities to find solutions that reflect their needs, creating alternative paths toward positive, sustainable systemic change. Its light can also illuminate the fundamental causes of climate change, such as the unequal impact burden placed on those who have least contributed to these crises, and who are vastly more vulnerable to their impacts. We challenge unjust power structures and apply methodologies to strengthen participatory democracy and lift the voices of communities to claim their rights for environmental and climate justice. These development perspectives are three tools which allow us to observe and uncover the complexity of the contents in which we work, helping us to challenge and transform the structures that enable and perpetuate rights violations.